Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Today is November the 20th, 2024, and it is morning in America again. Glad to have you here. And yes, I see your comments over in the chat. And no, my microphone is not off. But I see that our friend Kermode Bear has unlocked the bonus content already. Oh, come on now, Kermode. That's cheating. Nah, you did it. Thanks so much for doing that. Kermode Bear was so excited, and we went out of our way to accommodate Kermode this year because I know he's a big fan of our delicious Founding Flavors Martha's Mint Coffee. I'm drinking some today. It's chocolate. It's peppermint. It's delicious. No, I got some chocolate in mine, but it's peppermint coffee. And I put a little bit of Hershey syrup in it this morning. It's like, it's a marshmallow world in the winter when the snow comes to cover the ground. Thank you to Kermode Bear. Everybody say thank you to Kermode. He unlocked it. And FYI, real quick, and then we'll get to the news. I did also work really hard yesterday to bring you another Founding Flavors limited edition coffee. Goes away after Christmas Day. It's roasted chestnuts. So if you want your chestnuts roasting on an open fire, a Jack Frost nipping at your nose, I'd punch him right in the face if he tried. Then get that over at forlibertyshop.com. Again, limited time, Martha's Mint and roasted chestnut flavors, holiday flavors. They go away after Christmas. Elon Musk bats Attorney General Matt Gaetz for reform amid Milei's reforms. Why is this trending news? I don't know, but it's a strange thing to put together, juxtapose it. Let's just make sense of it by looking at it over on x.com this morning. Good morning, good morning. Don't forget, click like if you're here, and click follow if it's your first time listening. But this is currently trending right now. Internationally, the story is that Elon Musk has publicly endorsed U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz for the role of Attorney General, citing his intelligence, resilience, and a strong determination to address systemic issues within the justice system. Musk's support comes amidst ongoing debates about Gaetz's suitability for the position due to past allegations of sexual misconduct. And then completely unrelated, but somehow related, but I don't care if it's unrelated, it's related to me, and the X says it's related, I think it's awesome. Meanwhile, in Argentina, President Javier Milei's economic reforms, which include significant deregulation, privatization, have been highlighted by Musk and other notable figures like Donald Trump, who have discussed these policies in various international settings. All right, guys, nobody panic, okay? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can't take it anymore, guys. I've run out of juice. Like, there's whatever that chemical is in your brain, that dopamine that you have. Like, I just can't drink. There's not enough Founding Flavors in the world to get back all the chemicals that I've lost. I've just been excreting fluids, and I can't excrete any more fluids, guys. I just can't. I can't cry. What'd you say?
Do not come.
Excuse me?
I'm going to come.
Thank you, Donald Trump, for handling that for me. That was funny when Max and Lot this week was like, is this a Howard Stern style show, by the way? No, but I really appreciated that Sonny Hostin from The View has decided to take a page out of honesty and credibility out of the playbook of far better journalists who have credibility to read this statement on the air on ABC News. Pay special close attention to her facial expressions that she offers when she delivers this read. Take a listen.
On screen.
What about Gaetz?
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
Oh, we have got so much exciting stuff to talk about. Speaking of reforms and Javier Milei and the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk. We're going to have Vance Ginn. He was the former economist in the previous Trump administration at the Office of Management and Budget. He's going to join us this morning at 7:30 a.m. to talk about the Herculean challenge that is posed to people like Elon Musk and to, I'm sorry, I just saw this comment. Arvolt says, this isn't a legal note, it's the hostage video. I love it. Yeah, me too. Hold on. You guys want to watch it one more time? Let's do it. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. It's a hostage video. Look, now watch her face. Watch it's the lips that she does. She purses her lips before she reads it. Yes, I do, Whoopi. Thank you. She pauses. This is how you know a lot of these people that aren't journalists. They're really more like actresses, right? They're just like actor/reporters, right? Leading somebody else's opinions. But watch her facial expressions and I'll slow it down.
You have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi.
Did you see that right there? That was the part. That was the good stuff. It's right there. Hold on. Let me slow it down. Hold on. There it is. That's the facial expression right there. Everybody enjoy that one. Looks like she sucked on a persimmon. Or clementine. Very funny stuff, and we will be paying attention to that. Javier Milei sat down with Lex Friedman to talk about freedom, economics, and corruption in a 2-hour-long podcast that went through economic treatises, and I'm thrilled to see it. And we've got Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks apparently having a change of heart on his own. Listen, look at this. Here's Cenk Uygur saying, I asked Elon Musk to put me in charge of cutting the Pentagon, and he said, what are your suggestions? I run the largest left-wing network online, and a Democratic leader has never asked me that question. The idea that they would take advice from a populist is disdainful to them. Cenk continues saying, now which side seems more open and inclusive? Which side seems more welcoming? And which side tries really hard to drive you away? If you disagree even a little with orthodoxy, well, they're called libertarians, Cenk Uygur. As a matter of fact, they're called, it's the libertarians. Which side is asking for suggestions and which ones are demanding compliance and obedience? Well, as a matter of fact, it's mostly the libertarians and the Democrats who are doing that. There's very little difference these days between the modern American libertarian movement. Whether they be right-wing libertarians or whether they be left-wing libertarians, generally there tends to be no difference in the amount of gatekeeping, shit-talking, and politics of destruction. They work far harder to destroy other libertarians and conservatives and people who are on their side. And you know who else agrees with me? You know who also agrees with me? You know who agrees with me? Motherfucking Javier Milei agrees with me.
Or long term. For example, if you really like round tables, perhaps the next interview we may do at a round table, we're going to try and solve it. But today it's something that we couldn't possibly solve. So that's basically the idea, right? Let's say it's about understanding that some restrictions you can't change, others you can, and there are institutional restrictions too. There are many anarcho-capitalists who are dedicated to criticizing, and incredibly, they do so with more violence towards liberals. And many of them actually criticize me.
Yeah.
Which truly make no sense because it is precisely the nirvana fallacy.
Yes.
But the reality is that, look, in Argentina, for example, the most popular sport is soccer. When you go to watch an Argentina match, it is beautiful. The stands are full and they're all painted with sky blue and white colors. There is a lot of joy. People sing songs that are very fun, that are very distinctive. It's very much part of Argentine folklore, so to speak. But you see, that beautiful show is external. That is to say, it does not determine the outcome. You place the ball in the middle of the field, and no matter how much people shout, the ball doesn't move. The one who moves the ball and scores the goals is Messi.
He is Messi. What do I mean?
If you don't get involved and don't get into it, no, you don't do anything. So, what do I know? Is that there are many liberals, libertarians, and anarcho-capitalists who are really useless because all they do is criticize, let's say, those of us who want to lead the world toward the ideas of freedom. And what they don't realize is that power is a zero-sum game.
Thank you. And he goes on, and it's wonderful, and it's beautiful, and he's agreeing with me, and he's the man in the arena. Oh my God, it's Kim McCurry. McCurry? What's up? Kay McCurry, we missed you. And Intiga, too? To what do we owe the pleasure? We got Intiga back today. We've got Kim McCurry back today. Matt Unruh's here. Quest Fanning. I feel I got the dopamine back, boys. Feeling good. I'm glad to have you here. Don't forget, guys, click that like button. You can also send a text message to the show, and that text line is open anytime, night or day. 573-319-1586. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Would love to have you join us Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, which is our schedule. We have got Sarah Higdon on the show today at 8 o'clock. Amazing. Latrell LW78, I feel like we've got like a connection here. We know because we've been both paying attention to what's been going on in the libertarian world, especially in the last couple of years. And you've been seeing me have these fights and these arguments and dealing with these assholes and these retards and stuff like that. The people who are in the arena, but they're not down on the field pushing the ball around, and they're attacking people like us who are trying to advance the ball more than they're attacking the socialists, right? And all that kind of stuff. The people who here in the United States who call themselves ANCAPs who hate Javier Milei, right? Because the whole Israel thing. Anyways, Latrell, you and I, we got to sit down sometime and like have a chat. What's up, homie? Says Mr. Embry001. Wow, all my friends are here. God, I'm so excited. I'm more thrilled that you guys are here than I think that you're here that I am. I'm just having an absolute blast. I'm loving seeing Cenk Uygur ripping on the left and talking about inclusiveness. Here's a fun interview that he did with Piers Morgan. FYI, sorry, don't want to get all over the place before I set everything up. Judge Napolitano at 8:30 a.m. Apparently Joe Biden gave Ukraine long-range missiles and then permission to fire them deep into the heart of Russia. Will World War III happen? Probably not, but I'll make more money on this podcast if I lied to you and say that it will. Here's Cenk Uygur.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
couldn't
not
find
right,
them before
and
the
I was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
who
taking
won?
cheap
who
shots
won?
at me.
Who won?
You want to make your
you
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make
world
it
of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with your personal attacks.
Come find out again.
Make whatever point you want. Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know anything.
You attacked me personally.
You're so deluded.
Right.
This Lichtman guy, he came up with this kind of like astrology chart of political power that's like, it's like, if you're a Pisces and you have this power, you'll become the president. And then he lost so dramatically on the live stream side. And then like he predicted Kamala Harris was going to win. And then Kamala Harris didn't win. And then everybody else is kind of like, no, it's not. The charts are fine. The astrology charts are fine. It's just that, if you put Jupiter in the wrong star sign, then you forget that if you had a Pisces and that's a water sign, you can't cross it with Aquarius, right? You can't cross Aquarius with a Leo, and then you got a Leo in the power signs, and then his charts were fine, his star charts were fine.
I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published?
You published
no,
books?
Because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just finish a goddamn
stupid.
thought?
You are stupid.
No, not if you're personally. I admitted I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say,
yeah, you do.
See you Democrats all getting along so well.
Who taught you manners?
It's good to see you Democrats all getting along so well. I love it. If they're not eating each other, then they're joining our team. Good morning. Speaking of being on our team, we've got so many great guests today. You can't believe what I've got going on for you guys. There's so much awesome stuff. And I've got to talk to you about forlibertyshop.com. Guys, here's the story, right? Christmas time, Christmas shopping. I know a lot of you guys are doing what I'm doing. You're putting it off. You're waiting for another day. Don't do that, guys. Don't put off your Christmas shopping. Get your orders in at forlibertyshop.com now so we don't have to worry about it. And if there's any delays, we can fix it. No problem. Usually we do not have delays, but because of the time of year, guys, now is the time. Get that early Christmas shopping out of the way so you're not worried about, oh, Black Friday and all that kind of stuff. Don't wait. Get your orders in now. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Javier Milei has a meme that went around, and these are they call themselves Miller intellectuals. It was a joke because regular people in Argentina could see what the leftist intellectuals could not. When one man on the street was interviewed and asked about who he was voting for, he said, Miller, Miller. And they were like, you mean Milei? And he's like, oh yeah, Milei, right? But here's the thing. The thing with the Miller intellectual meme is that it is a deeper sign that the average person, the regular person, is more of an intellectual than the leftist Marxists, economists who told us everything was fine, there is no inflation, just continue to vote for the Democrats, right? Just continue to vote for the left, right? The Peronists of Argentina, the Kamala Harris, Tim Walzers here in the United States, right? And everything will be fine. But we, the common people, the regular people, the Miller intellectuals, were more intellectual than the quote-unquote intellectuals. So that's what this meme means. I made an awesome Javier Milei with his fists up, looking like a Grand Theft Auto character, sweatshirt that you can get at forlibertyshop.com. It says Miller Intellectual. You can get it only at forlibertyshop.com because I designed it. There is nowhere else on the planet that you can get that shirt. And if you're like, oh, Austin, I want to save some money. You see that little button down there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen right there? You click that. It's a spin to win. You spin the wheel, and then you can win. You could win 5% off, 10% off, 20% off. And most of the time people win something, right? And I don't like weight it heavily that you can't win the 20% off. People win the 20% off all the time. So go to forlibertyshop.com. You know, put everything that you want in your cart for Christmas, including the Miller Intellectual shirt. Put your coffees in there, with the caveat that we don't do discounts on coffee, FYI, guys, but we do have the holiday coffees. We make almost no money on coffee. I just do that for you guys so we can, like, you can be happy and we can, like, get contact information so I can email you so you can buy something that I actually make a profit on. Like sweatshirts. So yeah, go to forlibertyshop.com, get your Christmas shopping in, guys, get your Founding Flavors coffee and your Javier Milei merchandise. Speaking of Javier Milei, I've got, goodness gracious. Oh, Elon Musk posted, not Javier Milei related, it says Matt Gaetz has 3 critical assets that are needed for the Attorney General role: a big brain, a spine of steel, and an axe to grind. He is the Judge Dredd America needs to clean up a corrupt system and put powerful bad actors in prison. Gaetz will be our hammer of justice. Good for you. Elon Musk coming out hard for Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Love it, love it, love it. And apparently Matt Gaetz has been getting a little litigious with ABC News and The View, so much so that they forced Sonny Austin to read this on air.
On screen. Well done, Gaetz. Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism, that DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
Love it, love it. I love it. With great skepticism. I love that. The acting right there. So it's very serious. It should be viewed with great skepticism. There should be with great skepticism. But then my favorite part is when she does that little persimmon face right there. She purses her lips. All right, I got to run a commercial break. This show's going to fly by today because I got guests back to back to back. Incredible guests. Coming up next, Van Skin to talk about Doge. After that, we've got Sarah Higdon to talk about the first transgender elected lawmaker in the bathroom questions on Capitol Hill. Judge Napolitano at 8:30 a.m. talking about World War III when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Do not go away.
Unlocking today's bonus content. Our theme.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Look at this shot right now coming in live. We got Musk there. We got, I don't recognize everybody. There's President Trump, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, who is also thought to possibly have a position coming in the administration. Senator Ted Cruz on the left with the shades. Is that Ronnie Jackson on the right with the hat? I can't really tell. What do you make of this? They fashion themselves on social media as this legion of superheroes, this incoming administration. Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., et cetera, et cetera. I guess we're adding pictures and names. I know you now you're looking at me like you mean the Legion of Doom. But
it's the Marvel Universe versus second-rate DC, but that's...
I mean, if I understood what that meant, I would probably have a better opinion about it. But
These people are so out of touch. Good morning. Rise and freedom. It's the Avengers. No, it's Spider-Man, Superman. All of them rolled into one, and that's Elon Musk. And then there's Javier Milei. 10x power of all of them. He's our Dragon Ball Z Goku. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. What superhero would I be? I'm not quite sure. We'll have to think about that one. My next guest is a superhero economist of sorts. He's got the Jinja power. He's a former economist at the Office of Management and Budget under Donald Trump's first administration, but now we're talking a little bit more about what's happening on the outside institutions, the Department of Government Efficiency. An oxymoron if ever I've heard one. But no, wait, It's an outside agency this time, headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Will they be able to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget? Let's speak to an economist who knows a thing or two about Donald Trump and about cutting spending. His name is Vance Ginn. He's the host of his own podcast, Let People Prosper. Vance, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Hopefully, we're part of the Avengers club here to fight back for liberty and freedom.
I'm glad. I only speak in superhero references because I'm forced to by modern culture, but I'm a little tired of superhero movies. I'm looking for something a little bit more old school, Vance. But when it comes to cutting spending and cutting government, I mean, you're one of the experts on these topics. But government doesn't want us to cut. They're going to fight us tooth and nail. Is this outside agency, Department of Government Efficiency, is this the way to go? And what about Congress getting in the way and their prerogatives, the power of the purse? Give us a broad overview of your thoughts on DOGE.
Yeah, so DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, as you mentioned, led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, it's an extraordinary opportunity of something that we really need. I mean, there's $36 trillion in national debt. We each owe over $100,000. Taxpayers, if you're a taxpayer, you owe $250,000 for that debt. So it's a massive problem that we got to do something about. And internally, it's very difficult, as you mentioned, to do something because you've got the career staff who are always pushing back, which is most of the federal government. And then the political appointees will try to get their will done. But it's very difficult from the executive branch to do much with the budget. You could do sequestration, the Impoundment Act, sort of stuff, and reduce some of the spending that's out there, but not a large extent. So this DOGE, this external outside group, it's not funded by government. I think that's a key part of this. Really looks more like the Grace Commission that President Reagan put back in the 1980s. They came out with a whole bunch of ways to cut, and they actually did some of them. And that's the only beef I have with it, really, Austin, is that there's not any teeth. Right? There's no teeth that says that Congress has to put this in their budget or anything like that. But I put the big but here. You've got some big players now with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy pushing for spending cuts. This is extraordinary. It's right up my alley of saying we need to spend less. And so maybe, just maybe, President Trump will be incentivized and fired up about cutting spending and cutting regulations to where he can use the bully pulpit of the presidency to force Congress to cut spending. He could say, you know what? If you don't cut this spending, I'm going to veto every bill. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that the president can put on them to do something. So I'm kind of fired up about that, Austin.
Yeah, I'm fired up about it too, Vance, but I know that political realities will sometimes have a way of smacking you in the face. So
yes.
Congress has the power of the purse, and people are complaining that it's not the Department of Government Efficiency, an outside agency's job to make spending cuts or make recommendations. It's nobody's job but Congress, but Congress won't do it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, they've had plenty of opportunities to do so. And the $36 trillion in national debt and the overspending is a bipartisan problem. If you look at a president that's Republican and then a Democrat or a Republican House and Senate, you still get too much spending. Same thing with Democrats. I mean, it's both sides want to overspend, and that's something we just can't deal with. And we've got a major issue over the next decade expected of $20+ trillion in new debt that's going to happen, meaning $2 trillion a year just in deficits every year. And the Federal Reserve has $7 trillion on their balance sheet. There's a lot of inflationary pressure. There's a lot of market distortions that are out there. And so I think this is the time that we've got to cut spending and say, you know what, Congress, we're going to give you a little bit of extra help. And it's going to come from outside of government because it's too hard to get stuff done within government. And they may not like it. They're going to push back. But at the same time, we've got to do something different. And I also think, Austin, with this new Senate Republican majority and the House having majorities there as well, especially if the president doesn't keep pulling new senators into his administration, there is an opportunity for them to do something big. And so I think this is the way to go and try to fight back. And Congress, ultimately, to your point, though, they've got to be on board because they've got to make these changes. But let's give them a little bit more ammunition, if you will, of what to cut and what to start fighting back on. And one more thing here is that I think we've also not got to be scared about talking about Social Security and Medicare. I know that those are politically impossible if you're gonna die out there and not get reelected, but we've got to, because those are 2/3 of the budget. And so if you're not talking about those, you're not really talking about a lot of excessive spending. And so let's really put as much on the table as we can with no sacred budget cows. Just let even the defense, Department of Defense needs some reforms as well.
One of the things I've been seeing Elon Musk posting is talking about some of these like diversity, equity, and inclusion jobs. He calls them fake jobs within government. I mean, we're talking about, how many, the largest employer in the United States is the federal government. And so, there must be huge areas that you could cut. I know Medicare and Medicaid, those are the real monsters in the budget. But it would be, I think, wise for us to go after the low-hanging fruit, right? And there are certainly lots of low-hanging fruit, are there not?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of those jobs within government that shouldn't exist. There's a lot of departments, honestly, that shouldn't exist, that aren't constitutional, like the Department of Education, even the Department of Energy. You could go through a number of the list of agencies that should be left to the states and ultimately to the people. If we go back to the Constitution, it's just become too much. There's too many people that are up there. And, I like some of the ideas about moving some of government outside of, the agencies and the individuals to other states. For example, when you're looking at the Department of Agriculture, why are they in D.C.? Why aren't they out there where the agriculture is actually at to see what's actually on the ground of what's going on, and at the same time reduce the number of people that are in these agencies and departments? And I think we'll get more done. One of the things too, Austin, is that there's a lot of talk about AI and how we can move to an AI world and use more computers. In the private sector, they're using a lot more of these innovations and technologies to do things better and more efficiently. Why shouldn't we have government be run more by computers and AI and an upgrade there and fewer people? I think we'd be in a much better situation than where we are today.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm speaking of Vance Ginn. He worked at the Office of Management and Budget in the 2016 Trump White House. He's talking to us a little bit now about the potential reform efforts that will be undertaken by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to make recommendations to attempt to cut up to $2 trillion in federal spending. But let's be honest, Vance, we need more than $2 trillion in order to meet our deficits and our obligations when it comes to debt spending. Because at this point in time now, all we're doing is just making interest payments on the debt. We're not even paying down even any principal at this moment, right?
Right. Yeah. So we're paying net interest on the debt is about $1 trillion a year. The overall budget is about $6.5 trillion. So you got to think about $1 trillion of that is just going to net interest payments on the debt. It's like you running up your credit card, just paying the minimum payments every month and not paying any of the principal down. That's basically what we're doing with our national debt. And of course, that crowds out your budget when you have a high credit card debt. Well, it's crowding out the budget at the federal level, which means they're going to want to spend more on other things. And it also means that it crowds out the productive private sector, because those dollars to pay for the interest on the debt come from our pockets through the retirement accounts, through a lot of other things, from direct payments for that. This is a massive issue going on. And so, the $2 trillion, if we could cut $2 trillion a year, then we could do something about our debt. Maybe that's what they're going to look at. If it's $2 trillion over a decade, which is usually the DC speak is over a decade, what they're going to do, that's not going to be much. That's a drop in the bucket of the $20+ trillion that they're expecting already. So there's got to be some massive cuts here. This is one reason why, I think we should not only focus on cutting government spending now, but also looking at spending limits. Let's put restraints in place so that, if it doesn't grow by more than population growth plus inflation or population growth, some metric that is better aligned with the average taxpayer's ability to pay for government spending, we'll be in a much better situation. I did some research here recently, Austin, where I just limited government spending to 1% per year and had 1 percentage point higher GDP growth, which we could get through the tax cuts and through deregulation, which I think Trump is going to be big on. We can get closer to that. If we had 1 percentage point faster GDP growth from 2% to 3%, let's say, and we had slowed the growth of spending to just 1% per year, we could balance the budget in 6 years. So this is doable. It's just a matter of getting our fiscal house in order, and hopefully that's what the Doge can help with.
Right. Yeah. No, but the politics gets in the way because you have to have iron will to be able to make these cuts. Because let's be honest, Vance, the deep state is. We may have won the election, but that doesn't mean the fight is over. I mean, we've got plenty of Republicans who are not on our side when it comes to making spending cuts and things like that. I mean, when it comes to things like making cuts over at the Department of Defense, I saw what is it? It's an $800 billion budget, and they failed their audit for something like the seventh time. I'm just a little skeptical that they're actually going to go in there. And even if they propose cuts, if Doge proposes cuts to the defense spending, I mean, a lot of people are going to howl and scream. And then you got to understand the political equation is that they manufacture Lockheed Martin and Boeing, the military-industrial complex. They manufacture some critical part for B-2s and F-35s and A-10 Warthogs in every congressional district in the country on purpose. So are you skeptical that there's actually going to be cuts to important things? Like, I know you're skeptical about Medicare, Medicaid question, but like the Department of Defense, and I saw he named Linda McMahon as head of the Department of Secretary of Education. Does that mean we're not abolishing the Secretary of Does that mean we're not abolishing the Department of Education? Because I was told that we would be abolishing the Department of Education. What's your take?
Yeah, I hope we are abolishing the Department of Education, and maybe Linda McMahon will be able to be one who goes in and starts to rein it in and reduce the size of it, and ultimately gets it to a place where it could be eliminated. I mean, that's the one thing here too. I think you'll need Congress to pass laws to eliminate the Department of Education, eliminate some of these other departments that are there. It can't just be eliminated right by the executive branch. And so I maybe she's the person that could convince some of those that are in Congress to say, you know what, we don't need to be the Department of Education. I'm willing to give up my job and go back doing what I was doing right now. And she was chair of the American First Policy Institute and got plenty of money and everything else. So she doesn't need this job. And that's what's kind of interesting about a lot of the folks that he's nominated so far, right? When you think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and you think about, some of the other folks that are in there, these are folks that don't need these jobs. And sometimes you get people who are career politicians that this is their next position to move up the ladder within government. And so maybe you've got some good reformers. I'm not excited about every person that he's nominated so far. But maybe these are the people that need to go in and shake things up for a while. And one of the things too to remember is that let's say that some of these people can't get Senate confirmed, like a Matt Gaetz, for example. I think that's going to be an uphill battle in the Senate. You could be an acting administrator, an acting secretary, an acting AG for up to 2 years without being Senate confirmed. And so you can make a lot of changes within that period of time before you're even confirmed. And so those are some things that may be able to help shake up what's happening in DC and get us back on a track to some sort of fiscal conservatism and constitutional republic that we should be.
I love it. I love it. That's Vance Ginn we're speaking to right now. Vance, we're running out of time towards the end of our interview. I want to give you a chance to say if there's anything that you think that we missed or that you think that we should cover, let us know. Also, this will be your opportunity to plug your own podcast.
All right. Well, Austin, thank you for the opportunity today, as always. I think there's an extraordinary opportunity here with the second Trump administration. I'm excited about it. There are going to be some things that, you and I could talk about with tariffs and excessive spending and protectionism that I think are going to be important. But we've got a great opportunity here to really turn the country around. So I hope that they're able to do that within the Trump administration, the second term. I don't know yet if I'll be going up there. I haven't got any calls yet, but we'll see what happens. But, for the audience, please go and check me out. You can go to my website, vanceginn.com. I have a Substack newsletter at vanceginn.substack.com, and my podcast, Let People Prosper. You can find that on all the major platforms that are out there. Please go check that out as well. And so it's always a pleasure to be with you, Austin. Thank you for all you're doing.
There we go. Thank you very much, Vance. We appreciate your time. Thank you for being so generous with it. And hopefully you get a call from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to go help them out with Doge. Have a great day, Vance.
Thank you so much. You too.
anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was.
Hold on one second, guys.
No,
I saw that you said that there was no audio there. I don't know why that just died out there. Hold on one second.
I'm going to fight. Hey everyone, I seemed to blow up the radical left last night. I filed a resolution that would ban biological men from women's private spaces on the Hill. I'm just getting started, and I've already nowhere near stopping, and the death threats that I'm receiving now aren't going to stop me either. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. Come at me, bro. Or bros in this case. I'm not going to take...
Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes.
My question to you is...
It doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
but should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I am not going to stand for it. And the Speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I will be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
end of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect. And I'm absolutely going to stand in the way of anyone who thinks it's okay for a man to be in our locker room, in our changing rooms, in our dressing rooms, in women's bathrooms. And in fact...
Okay, she's a strong, independent woman. She don't need no man. That's Congresswoman Nancy Mace. And Nancy Mace is famous for becoming the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, a historically male military school. And let me just say this. I know that you guys are not prepared for the rabbit hole that I'm about to go down, but I'm going to go down it, okay? Sarah Higdon, she is a transsexual activist. She's a libertarian. She was a Trump supporter. And she's going to join us here in less than 10 minutes to give her expert advice and opinion on this question about whether or not the incoming congressperson who's coming in will be able to use male, female bathrooms in Capitol Hill. We're going to talk about that, all that, and we're going to go back and forth. But I just want to remind everyone that what we're talking about here are men invading women's spaces. And I know you're not going to like me going down this rabbit hole, but I do like this tweet from this. This is where I go hard right, like really hard right. Will Tanner posted this on X yesterday, and I have to say I agree. He says, she destroyed male-only spaces, demanding the Citadel open to women, an obviously and egregiously terrible idea if the goal is to build masculine camaraderie of the sort that wins wars. Now she demands female-only spaces. She's right. Perverts shouldn't be let in the hen house. But it was her subversion that brought us here. We need male-only spaces and institutions and female-only spaces and institutions. Something that would bring us back to a degree of sanity and see the absurdity of the whole transgender thing. See, what you don't understand is that every wave of feminism is always horrified by the next wave that comes in, and every wave of feminism that comes in creates the horror of the next generation of feminism. So I want to ask you, the audience, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because there seems to be this willingness to give rights and privileges and exemptions and exceptions to women in our society of all stripes and to protect them when they are in danger. Yes, we should protect them from the perverts. I admit this. But this all started because we allowed women into men's spaces. That's where this all began, right? That was the domino that kicked it off. And I don't want to ignore this point, because we have to understand how we got here. And I'm going to talk to Sarah Higdon about that. She might not even be ready for those questions, but I'm going to pose those questions to her anyway. But we're going to talk about that. Here's John Oliver's take on the whole transgender question. Typical lefty liberal. I see that there is some disagreement in the chat, which I'm excited to see. But Somniferum75 says that is not what started all this. Yes, it is. First wave feminism led to second wave feminism. Second wave led to third wave. Third wave led to fourth wave. And here we are in postmodernism. It's time for us, if we're going to talk about having female-only spaces, then we need to talk about male-only spaces as well. Women, I agree with Nancy Mace. We should keep men out of women-only spaces like bathrooms, and we should keep women out of men-only spaces like the presidency of the United States. Coming up next, Sarah Higdon to respond to that. Ooh, that's spicy. Ooh, that's gonna make you angry. Sorry, ladies, but it's time for a reckoning. Judgment Day is here. The boys are back in town, and we're gonna be taking back our rightful place at 1600 Pennsylvania Ave. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Unlocking today's bonus content.
Mr. Speaker, is freshman-elect Sarah McBride a man or a woman?
Look, I'm not going to get into this. We welcome all new members with open arms. We're concerned about the uses of restroom facilities and locker rooms and all that. This is an issue that Congress has never had to address before, and we're going to do that in deliberate fashion with member consensus on it, and we will accommodate the needs of every single person. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes,
do you plan on bringing Nancy Mace's transgender bill and putting that into the rules package?
I'm not going to address the plans on any of that. I just told you what I'm going to say about the issue. I'm not going to engage in this. We don't look down upon anyone. We treat everybody with dignity and respect. That's a principle that I've pursued my whole life. And we will
treating everybody with dignity and respect, except for the taxpayers. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Yes, I also treat everyone with dignity and respect, unless they don't treat me with the dignity and respect, in which case I am mean to them. Pretty rude, actually, to people who aren't kind to me. But if somebody is kind to me, if somebody is nice and respects my rights and my liberties, then I will treat them with the utmost of respect, because I think all humans deserve that. Joining us now live is Sarah Higdon, who's blown up in recent days. She was in the Daily Mail, cited talking about as a response to John Oliver's little pansy critique of some of the rights attacks on transgender activism. She is a transsexual, a Catholic, a libertarian activist, a Trump voter, and a good friend of the show. Sarah, good morning. Welcome to the show. How was your workout so far this morning?
The Daily Mail simply for talking about males and female sports and talking to J.K. Rowling, and it always seems like when I'm on your show, because it's in the morning, I'm always sitting right here in this spot at the gym and get about 20 minutes of my workout in, and then I got to go back and do another hour afterwards.
We've got a lot to talk about, Sarah. I'm glad you're staying in shape. You're staying healthy. Just for context, so people will understand, like, you have undergone transitional surgery. You speak out on these issues often. You've helped to carry bills to legislators to try and protect children. The bathroom issue is a complicated one. There's many moving parts to this one. Let's talk about the real big issue. I think John Oliver is kind of a little bit of a sideshow, right? He's an entertainer. What really matters is what Nancy Mace is doing to try and prevent the very first openly trans lawmaker from using women's bathrooms. So forcing people to use the bathrooms which their biological sex that they were assigned at birth. So tell me, Sarah, or that we recognize at birth. Sarah, what is your take on this question at Capitol Hill? Do you support what Nancy Mace is doing? Something in between? Give us your take.
So yeah, I think I have a very nuanced perspective on this. I was actually really encouraged to see Speaker Johnson's statements, which I haven't agreed with him very much on a lot of things. I think he'll probably take even some heat for that from Republicans for not coming out and just saying that Sarah McBride is a man, right? I'm encouraged that he just took it to the respect level, because that's where we should be with it. I think that we do have to respect somebody like Nancy Mace, who is a survivor of sexual assault, and her concerns with a male in her locker room and bathrooms and stuff like that. Somebody that she absolutely knows is a male. And the only reason why you would know usually is because, like, Sarah McBride is open about it. People like me are open about it, but most people you're not going to know. But I do think the solution to all of this, and it kind of Speaker Johnson almost alluded to it a little bit, is I think in all publicly funded buildings, because we all fund publicly funded buildings, there should be accommodations for everybody, right? So I don't think it's unreasonable to say that all publicly funded spaces should have a third space because we all pay for those. Now, when it comes to what private businesses do, what private property owners do, that's on them. That's their right to choose what happens in their establishments. And this bill it's not even a bill, it's a resolution, right? So it literally only affects employees of the House of Representatives. It doesn't even affect Senate members. And so it's very small in scope, but it does start a conversation that's been a long time coming, right? So I do think that there are some solutions, but I think that we need to be able to look at those center solutions and those nuanced solutions and not just the extreme solutions on both sides, because I think a lot of what Nancy Mace has done has been quite a bit of theater because it's going to blow up on social media. But how is that? I mean, in her district might agree with what she's doing, but I don't know how that's going to play out as a whole, how she's going to come across and the country as a whole. But I think at the end of the day, we need to come up with solutions that work for everybody rather than you're trans, so you need to go in the men's room, or, you know, you can't, like, just these black and white solutions. That's kind of what they're doing right now. And that's the only conversation being had. It's all black and white. There's no nuance in it.
Yeah, no, we're incapable of having nuanced conversations in this country, except here on the Wake Up America show, where we can talk about these things reasonably. Sarah, I think you and I have talked well enough that you kind of know where I come from on these issues and my personal views, which are much more nuanced than the typical black or white view when it comes to transgenderism and transsexuality. But when it comes to the question of Nancy Mace specifically, she is using her sexual assault, she calls it, grape, to sort of highlight the concern of having biological males in women's bathrooms there on Capitol Hill. So she might be grandstanding a little bit, but I think she does have a point. I do think that it is important for women to be able to have safe spaces that are not going to be invaded by someone who is a biological male. And those places should exist. If there is an option to have a third bathroom, like a family bathroom that anyone can use, then that sort of mitigates the problem. And if we're talking about public spaces that are taxpayer funded, then something like that is a great solution, not just for people who are confused about their gender, but it's also good for people who have families like myself and I need to go in and change the baby or do something like that, right? So, I mean, that's the third way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing that I think we also need to highlight, right? Is that there are a lot of people who have children that are not the same sex as them. So if you are a father and you want to take your, young toddler that's a female, you're not going to want to take them into the men's room. You're going to want to take them into a private, secluded space that is unisex. And I think it's a reasonable middle ground.
Where do you think this goes? Because, I mean, it's not just a bathrooms. They have a congressional locker room, right? And a gym and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, like it's more than just that. What do you think ends up happening, Sarah, if you could predict the future?
Like I said, I think with Mike Johnson, taking the respect road and we saying specifically we will make accommodations. We never had to deal with this, but we're working through it right now. When basically seems like he's going to work with Sarah McBride to see what is, what can work for everybody. I think I'm very encouraged with what Speaker Johnson said. As a whole, it's interesting because where it goes in the national scale, I don't think that it'll go. I mean, there's not going to be a national ban on bathrooms. I don't agree with it. California has self-ID bathroom laws where they force businesses to do that. I don't think that's going to happen. It wasn't even popular. It didn't even work well when they did it in North Carolina. But I think that there's some steps that you can take to prevent, the fully bearded man going into the women's locker room and just self-identifying. I think that there's a certain level of passing and respect, and if you've been on hormones for say 2 years and you have your IDs changed, then I think that there's a level of, okay, you've taken some of those steps. But again, it's all about how enforcement is a hard thing to talk about. How do you enforce this? Are you going to be checking people's IDs at the bathroom? I think that those are the things. It's going to be a national discussion if as it is now. It's been for the last few years, so it'll be interesting to see where the discussion goes and what voices start to come out in the discussion, and where we can go with it.
Sarah, you were on the Daily Mail the other day, and it was because of a conversation that was sparked by John Oliver on his HBO special talking about the Democrats and Kamala Harris and transgender issues. He says he didn't think that they were leading strong enough. He says that he doesn't think it's a problem that biological males would compete in female sports. Sarah, I mean, you're at the gym right now. You have undergone the conversion surgery, but you're looking pretty buff. If you were to if you were to join a women's soccer team today, you think you'd clean up?
I'd probably do pretty well. Yes. That was the whole conversation with J.K. Rowling was calling him out on it, and I pointed out, I'm served 7.5 years as a logistics officer in the Army. I continue with my fitness. About a year after I started hormones, which is when they say I should lose all my advantage, was the first time I ever stepped foot on a spin bike. And within about 6 months to a year, I was pushing, within the 80th percentile among most women. And again, that's all women. That doesn't take into account size. And I'm only, 5'4", 130 pounds. So my stature, I have a lot of power to weight ratios, that they would say too, compared to most women. Last year I had taken the steps to, I was gonna try to pull a Zuby, but in a different way. I was gonna try to, because I've never, done like heavy lifting, even in the Army times, I have pretty strong legs and stuff, but I was going to break the female squat record, the raw squat record. And I was I would have beaten all the women that were currently in competition. So if I would have competed in the last competition, I would have beaten them all. I was pushing like over 225, and then an old arm injury sidelined me, so I wasn't able to get it to 285, but I was getting 305 off the rack and just doing like 1-inch squats to get to that level. But then I hurt myself, and I'm like, it would have been a Zuby, but it would have just shown even better, not just that males have an advantage over females, but that you can be on hormones for 5 years and still have that advantage over females.
So J.K. Rowling actually responded to you saying, respect, thank you for this, after you had posted that you had alleged superior fitness. You still perform in the 80th percentile on a spin bike after never riding before 2020. HRT causes a loss in performance, but it doesn't erase it, correct? And for this, you are praised by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I mean, that's high praise from the Queen Turf herself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love J.K. Rowling. I think she's doing great work, and it really is high praise, and it's really great to see that post blew up as well as it did, and got the attention that it did. There was a post below it where somebody asked me to define what a trans woman is, and I defined it, as I always do, as a male with gender dysphoria who takes the steps to appear and present to the society and to blend to society as the opposite sex, even though they can never be the opposite sex. In the comments to that, the response to that was amazing too, because most people are like, I've never heard such a calm or a rational argument for trans, like being like transgender or transsexualism, is that. And it's like, if more people could just acknowledge that we don't change sex, if we, a trans woman's not a woman, and if we could just acknowledge those things, I think a lot of people would be more open to having the conversation about, what is reasonable and what, where we go forward with this. Unfortunately, so many of the activists are, well, one, they're super scared of the boogeyman that they've been told by the media, and they're in a cult, but they for some reason, they can't acknowledge their biological sex, and they call me self-hating, and I think a lot of it is them being self-hating. They are so ashamed of their biological sex that they can't admit what their biological sex is. And so I think once you can accept and admit who you are and what your biological sex is, and you transition, you don't become the opposite sex, but you are alleviating a disorder, I think at that point it's freeing. Like, I feel free. Like, I'm not scared of what Trump's going to do. I'm not scared of what other people are going to do. Like, I voted for Trump because I don't think I think he's more centrist when it comes to a lot of these issues. And it's clear because Elon Musk revealed that Caitlyn Jenner was at Mar-a-Lago last week helping with I made a joke. I said helping with Trump's transition, but different transition, but you get it.
Yeah, we're speaking to Sarah Higdon. She's an activist, a libertarian. She was a Trump voter, and she speaks out on transgender and transsexual issues. We've been talking about the Nancy Mace situation. One last question on the Nancy Mace issue, Sarah. This is where I take a hard right turn, but not because I'm like some traditionalist Catholic or anything like that. I'm just, your average He-Man woman hater. But just kidding. I have a daughter these days now, so I have to start thinking about these things now. These are serious problems that I now have to confront. And I will always respect Nancy Mace because she supported Ron Paul when it wasn't popular to do so. However, I wonder if you, like me, see the irony in Nancy Mace complaining about having her spaces invading, when her career was built on the back of pushing to be the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, which was an all-male military academy, and that was an all-male space. And I wonder if you see the irony of all of these conservative feminist women who talk all day long about their spaces now being invaded. Oh, now my space is being invaded. Now I have a problem, even though your entire career was built around invading male spaces.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I can definitely see the irony. I don't see it. It's not completely as much. I mean, she's one that is a glaring example of a conservative that would be like that. But I do find it kind of interesting because that's the way that the radical feminists on the left, the third wave feminists that are against gender ideology are still on the left, though I think that they consider themselves more centrist. But I think a lot of them voted for Kamala Harris because they cared more about the abortion issue than the trans issue. But a lot of these radical feminists, they say this to me all the time, and I've had the same conversation. I've had, I say when I talk about allowing private businesses to do what they want, they're like, well, should they be able to discriminate? I'm like, oh, they should be able to choose whatever their rules are, whatever that may be. It's it's their private property. And then they would say, there was the Tickle versus Giggle case in Australia where I actually supported Sal Grover that if she owns an app, it can be an all-female app if she wants it to be. I have no issues with that. If she doesn't want trans people on the app, that's her property, whatever. But then when I question some of these people and I say, well, do you think that men should be able to have all male golf clubs? Right? Golf clubs used to be just men. They would say no, because that's where they go to plot the patriarchy. Literally had somebody tell me that before. So I'm
conservative women all of a sudden become bra-burning feminists as soon as you suggest that you might take away their privilege of invading male spaces away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is interesting because what they don't understand too is, and it came up yesterday as well, somebody said, well, they don't want trans women in their spaces because they're males, but they want Buck Angel in their locker room. And I actually went to a different now. If you remember, there was on one of those Jubilee episodes, there was that trans man who was was really like a big dude, big looking dude, came in and you didn't know he was a trans man talking to Ben Shapiro, came in all bro-like and was super rude, condescending. That's the type of person that they would be like, no, that's a woman. She belongs in the women's restroom, because you can't have it both ways. The 14th Amendment prevents you from saying, if you're going to do it based on biological sex, it has to be biological sex for everybody, right? So you can't say all trans men go in the men's room, but all trans women also use the men's room. It doesn't work like that. The 14th Amendment would prevent that from even happening. And so you're right. I think that this conversation is long overdue, but I think I think it'll go away once this, the rules committee gets passed through, and then I don't know if we'll hear about it for a little while. I don't think we'll be talking about it, but there is a conversation to be had there.
Yes, I think there is, and I think it's far past time for us to have that conversation, because I don't think our society really moves forward if we have an apartheid system where one gender essentially gets all of the privileges and all of the benefits of citizenship in a democracy slash republic and without any of the accordant responsibilities. Now, Sarah, before you underwent your transition, you served in the military, right? You and I were required by law to sign up for selective service. Right? Women are not required to do that. I'm not suggesting that we extend the draft to women, but I am suggesting that when we talk about two-tiered justice systems, we also have a two-tiered society when it comes to gender. We're still operating on gender norms from Victorian era, chivalric, women and children first off the lifeboat, and men's lives are far less valuable than women's in modern society. But now women get all of the privileges and the benefits and the scholarships, and they get the advanced degrees, and they go to college, and they get picked for the corporate boards, and they get into the Citadel, and they take the men's spaces in the military. There is a serious problem here, Sarah, and I'm glad that people like you at least are acknowledging it. But that's going to be a painful discussion, because if I just tweeted this while we were discussing it, because I had to get it off of my chest. The fastest way to turn an anti-trans and women's bathrooms conservative woman into a bra-burning leftist feminist is to suggest that men should also have spaces and clubs where women aren't allowed. Sarah, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience on this topic, that topic? Did we miss anything?
I don't know if we missed much. I think it is important, I think it's important to just to recognize that, like, especially to tell, like, if you have any, like, the leftists out there need to understand that, like, if a government is so big that the change of president is going to drastically change your life, then that government is too big. And I think that's where the leftists, the authoritarians on the left they always forget, and the authoritarians on the right, they also forget, like, if you have the power to do it and you change the rules, you never account for when the other side takes power. So I think that as the new administration comes in, they also need to realize that too. When they have the power to do it, the leftists will then say, well, you did it when you had power, so we're going to do it even harder the other way. So this is how the pendulum keeps going back and forth. And I don't think that it's, I saw a lot of people commenting on the bathroom issue yesterday that are more centrist, politically homeless people that were saying, just use the bathroom that you present as. Like, it's not that complicated. I think most people are respectful that way. And if you're, clearly a dude just using the bathroom, then there should be some, common decency laws.
I've been to, enough bars and clubs in enough shady places in the country, and had to use a urinal next to someone who, you do the double take in there. I'm like, oh my God, that looks like a woman there standing there. But then, and as funny as that is, I'm an adult male, but now I have a daughter. Now my calculations have changed. And now when I think about questions like, if I see my 6-7-year-old daughter going into a women's bathroom and she's going in alone, and then I see someone who looks like a man but dressed like a woman and then follows after her, that's when daddy mode starts to activate, Sarah. Yep. And I start to get really protected. There's a biological urge that I have that says, kill, kill, kill. And I probably will trust my instincts in such situations.
Yeah. It is interesting. I was at a Trump rally a few weeks ago. Met Riley Gaines and Paula Scanlon as well. There, got to talk to them for a second and let them know how much I appreciate them. But it was funny. One of the stories there is, knowing the audience, knowing who is there, and also being recognized more than anywhere else that I've ever been recognized at. I'm like, you know what? So I was using the gender neutral space. Like, they had a bathroom that was kind of off to the side. It's kind of ironic that I'm standing there waiting for it to open, and one of the workers comes up to me and is like, ma'am, there's a women's locker, or there's a women's restroom right there. And I'm like, I know, thank you. But it's just one of those things, like, you just try to be respectful as much as you can. And if there's a third space, I'll always use that third space before using the women's space. I think that's what most people should look to do.
I will be respectful to those who are respectful to me, but those who are disrespectful to me, they get the torch. Hey, Sarah, where can people follow you online?
Yeah, you can go to my website, I actually have all my op-eds and stuff posted on my website, sarahhigdon.com. On Twitter and Instagram, it's also sarahhigdon_. Don't forget the underscore.
We will not forget the underscore. Sarah Higdon _. Thank you very much, Sarah, for getting up early and for interrupting your workout to join us here on the Wake Up America show. You're great, Sarah. And congratulations on the Daily Mail and becoming more famous than ever. Have a great day.
I'll see you.
Thanks very much. That's Sarah Higdon. Follow her over on x.com/ Sarah Higdon. That's Sarah, Higdon, and Sarah with no H, Sara. All right, guys, before I go get Judge Andrew Napolitano, it's time for you guys to head to forlibertyshop.com. Now, guys, I know you're like, oh, it's a commercial, it's a plug, but I'm begging you. I know you guys want Department of Government Efficiency merch. And I know you want it to be under your Christmas tree for your friends and family who love Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and of course, if you love Vivek Ramaswamy like I do, you can only get the Department of Government Efficiency merch that I designed at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. We've got the Doge Space Voyager phone cases. We've got coasters, tumblers, beanies, these field day. I ordered one of these for myself yesterday. Maybe I'm going to give it as a gift. Maybe to one of the people who's in the chat. Maybe if they're lucky for Christmas. But I don't know. I'm just going to try it on and we'll see. The Doge field agent jacket is burning up the internet. It looks like an FBI agent jacket, but it's Doge. I think your friends will do a double take when they see you wearing it. It's a windbreaker. It's nice and warm. It will keep the rain off of your head. It's got a nice hood, a nice soft, cozy liner, and it zips up. And it's got the Department of Government Efficiency logo on there. It says, "In Musk we trust." Whoa, so check that out at forlibertyshop.com. And I know you guys are really have been pushing me to bring back the holiday coffees. I did it. I brought back the holiday coffees. For a limited time at forlibertyshop.com, you guys can get the Martha's Mint coffee as well as a completely new holiday blend, Roasted Chestnut Delight. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They drank the Roasted Chestnut Delight, and now they're bouncing off the walls. Oh, what a fright. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if daddy really cut off his little fry. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to viewers from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, founding flavors for you. Sarah for Liberty, that jacket is awesome. Yes. Remember, you get a discount, guys, if you're a monthly subscriber at forlibertyshop.com. Remember, if you are a monthly if you guys are a monthly subscriber to the show, if you're donating monthly to the show, you get a 20% discount on everything but the coffee, right? So don't be mad at me, guys. Don't be mad. You don't make much money on coffee. I just like to offer it for you because it's nice and it's fun and it helps me get people's contact information so that I can hopefully send you a text message or an email and you'll buy something that I do make money on. But if you've got a 20% discount code, what are you doing? Go buy the jacket. Buy everything that you want for 20% off at forlibertyshop.com. Get the Doge Field Agent jacket. I got one. And if it's 20% off, then what is your excuse? Go get some presents for your friends. It's time for us to talk to Judge Andrew Napolitano. World War III. They keep saying it's going to happen. I'm sure Judge Napolitano thinks it's going to happen. I'll make a bet it doesn't. He's going to black pill. I'm going to white pill. We'll fight it out. Light versus dark. Obi-Wan versus Anakin. The Padawan becomes the master on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Unlocking today's bonus content. Our theme, Abolishing Everything Game Quest. Episode 2, Abolishing the Department.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Please click that like button if you haven't already. And if today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, this is a 5-day-a-week, 2-hour live stream. It's Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So a 2-hour show. It's a great way to start your day with a cup of freedom and Founding Flavors coffee. I hope you guys are enjoying the new holiday blends. I brought them back for you all by popular demand. So get your Martha's Mint, that's Martha Washington, with a beautiful picture of her inside Mount Vernon with the cool mint wallpaper. Absolutely beautiful. You can only get it at 4libertyshop.com, as well as the roasted chestnut flavors. Those go away by Christmas, so make sure you get those orders in ASAP. So they will be underneath the tree with all of the trimmings. All right, well, we have a lot to be thankful for this year. We shouldn't forget Thanksgiving. One of the things I'm thankful for is that my friend and my mentor, Judge Andrew Napolitano, has been a regular guest on this show, the Wake Up America show, for now two and a quarter years. He's been joining us every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Central. And we're thankful he does join us because he's a very busy man. He goes on other podcasts. He has his own podcast, which has a huge listener base. It's called Judging Freedom, and you should download it on your mobile devices right now and read his weekly column at judgenap.com. He graces us with his presence at a little bit of a different time because he is very busy, and he's joining us live right now, my friend and mentor, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Austin, and thank you for calling me your mentor. A, it brings back such fond memories, and B, it's flattering to me that somebody as smart, aggressive, fearless, courageous, and effective as you considers me his mentor. But thank you, and it's always a pleasure to be on there with you.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, when I go back sometimes and I see the highlights of my presidential and Senate runs and the speeches that I gave, most of the stories that I told were just simple bastardizations of what I had heard and read from your books and from your own speeches, Judge. So thank you for all of that inspiration. Judge, sometimes you're a bit dismal about the future of the United States from a governmental perspective, but there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel for which even you are excited about in the incoming administration. and that is the potential nomination to a cabinet level pick of someone who is our ideological equal. Tell us this story.
Well, yesterday on the floor of the House of Representatives, an event that will get very little publicity took place. The Republicans offered legislation that President-elect Trump wants, which, if enacted into law, would allow him to remove the tax-exempt status of any tax-exempt organization because of its speech. Put aside the constitutional problems with that. Every Republican on the floor of the House but one voted in favor of it, and 145 Democrats voted against it. Lost because it required a 2/3 majority under the rules under which the House was operating, where it didn't go through a committee. It was just proposed, and it was just proposed without any research or committee hearings because Donald Trump wanted it. The one Republican who voted against it is a finalist for the Secretary of Agriculture in Donald Trump's cabinet. That Republican, knowing he's a finalist for that position and knowing that Donald Trump wanted this legislation, voted against it nevertheless, because he knows it is profoundly unconstitutional and it is potentially the tool of tyrants. The most faithful person in all of government to the Constitution and the principles of maximum individual liberty and limited government, Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. When I saw this, Austin, my eyes welled up, not because he voted against it, but because he voted against it in spite of the fact that that vote may harm his career aspirations in the Trump administration.
Yes, he is a brave man, and he has been an outspoken leader when it comes to food and health freedom, Judge. I do hope that President Trump looks beyond any issues that he might have had with Thomas Massie in this situation and in the past. They have had some tussles in the past. In fact, Donald Trump famously called for Thomas Massie to be fired, and I think even tried to run a candidate against him in a primary and tried to unseat Massie. So it is interesting. Donald Trump even said either yesterday or the day before, though, that he does want to forgive people. He does want people to come together, and he does want even people who were old foes. And this was in regards to Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski coming to Mar-a-Lago to, quote unquote, kiss the ring. But in this situation, do you think that Trump could look beyond these disagreements and potentially name Thomas Massie to the Secretary of Agriculture? If so, what would that mean?
I have two thoughts on this. One is, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump can look past this. It's not like this lost by one vote, and it was Massie's vote. And Congressman and the Trump people know that Thomas Massie is a man of conscience. But two, I honestly think he'd be better for liberty in the House of Representatives or succeeding Mitch McConnell in his home state of Kentucky in the United States Senate. But maybe Congressman Massie, who just lost his wife and his children are now grown, is looking for a change in his career. There's certainly a lot of good he can do in the Department of Agriculture when it comes to human freedom. However, you know, as the feds, let's say Thomas Massie becomes the Secretary of Agriculture, and they lessen the level of regulation. Like if you want unpasteurized milk, you can drink it. The states will take their place as the tyrants telling us what we can eat and not eat. Now, the disadvantage to that is the states can be just as tyrannical. The advantage is, as Ronald Reagan used to say, you can vote with your feet. If I don't like the level of regulation and taxation in New Jersey, I could move 10 miles from here on the other side of the Delaware River, where America begins, Pennsylvania. There's actually a sign there. It actually says, "Welcome to Pennsylvania, where America begins." Where there's a lot less regulation and taxation.
Now, Judge, I actually I think Thomas Massie would be better as the Secretary of Agriculture because He hasn't passed any legislation in Congress yet. He would have real power to make cuts and to make changes. I don't know if he could essentially enact something like his Prime Act as Secretary of Agriculture, or if that would be underneath his constitutional authority or not. But I mean, he has been a big proponent of this. It's called the Processing, Revival, and Intrastate Meat Exemption Act, talking about interstate commerce here. And the idea is to make it easier for small local farmers and ranchers to sell their meat directly to consumers, restaurants, and grocery stores within their state. I mean, there is a huge established, entrenched interest in preventing something like this happening. Could Thomas Massie affect change in that area if he were the Secretary of Agriculture versus beating his head up against the wall and, trying to pass legislation in Congress that they don't want?
Well, this will be an interesting ideological challenge for him because he believes that much of the regulations promulgated by the Department of Agriculture are outside the constitutional authority of the executive branch and of the Congress. He will probably take the position that the regulations that he will promulgate undo these unconstitutional regulations rather than adding to them. But you are quite correct, Austin. As the Secretary of Agriculture, who knows if this is true? I mean, these are just rumors that he's being considered. I happen to think it's true, but I don't know that it's true. However, as the Secretary of Agriculture, he would have extraordinary authority to promulgate regulations. Now, when the executive branch promulgates regulations, some of them are just incredibly detailed, like how many lobsters you can take from the sea, how hot the oven has to be when a restaurant is cooking steak. I mean, I can't imagine that James Madison ever conceived of the federal government regulating these things. But he could promulgate regulations that undo things like this. It is posted in the Federal Register, for 30 days, and Congress can veto it. If Congress does nothing in 30 days, it becomes the law.
Judge, I don't really consider myself to be a conspiracy theorist. I consider myself to be more a conspiracy factualist. And I'd like to talk about a tangential subject related to this. And we'll talk about this in relation to the appointment of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to the Director of Health and Human Services. He wants to make America healthy again, and he's going to run into similar problems that Thomas Massie would face if he tries to reform the agricultural problems that we face here in the United States. It's not just about meat and meat processing, but we also have problems when it comes to the manufacture of sugar, soy, and seed oils, canola oils, and some of these things, these processed foods, which go into typically fast food, which are primarily the cause of why Americans are, blowing up to 250, 350 pounds, right? But the conspiracy angle on this, Judge, is this. If Robert F. Kennedy Jr. goes into the HHS and just tries to ban seed oils or ban these items, obviously I will oppose him, and I think it's misguided. But I think that it actually will let the real bad guys off the hook. Because, as you and I well know from history, Judge, the wars that Smedley Butler fought in, the Dole Banana Wars, and that the fact that no senator in Florida gets elected if they're not in the pockets of big sugar, the real evil in the United States in regards to the oils and the foods that we face, the real evil is the subsidies to agriculture that makes these items extremely cheap in relation to things like real sugar or beef tallow like they used to use in McDonald's French fries. Why do I bring up the Smedley Butler question on this one? Because if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. really wants to get himself assassinated like his uncle, then take on the agricultural subsidies, take on big sugar, because as Major Smedley Butler recognized, war is a racket. These corporations like Dole Banana and many of the other ones who manufacture the large industrial farms that pump out soy and canola oil and the high fructose corn syrup, they are subsidized by taxpayer dollars, and they have the money to hire assassins, private armies, and to take out anyone who would try and stop Welcome back to the show, guys. Sorry about that. The internet just pooped the bed there, and we are back. So hopefully that you guys are still sticking around with us. Looks like you guys are here. We appreciate that. Judge Napolitano is back with us as well. Sorry for that, Judge, but we were talking a little bit about like the Dole Wars and about how corporations have the power to hire private armies and assassins, and that if RFK Jr. goes after the real culprit, the agricultural subsidies, then they would actually try and kill him. Your take on that?
Well, it's very interesting because those subsidies are under the Department of Agriculture. So back to our friend Thomas Massey. Congressman Massey believes that subsidies are unconstitutional, as do you and I would guess most people listening to us. Unfortunately, what you say is true. These large multinationals have been living off of government largesse for so long they have enough money to do whatever they want. Are they going to hire private armies? I don't know. Do they have enough money with which to do that? Of course they do. Are these subsidies constitutional? They're absolutely not constitutional. They shouldn't have existed in the beginning. Say that in Iowa and you couldn't get elected to be dog catcher, because as Jefferson once argued, when the public learns that the public treasury has become a public trough, they will only send to Washington people who promise to bring home the biggest piece of the pie.
Yes, Judge. It's just when I see many people, even who are on our side, saying that the solution to this problem is to ban seed oils or to, ban, soybeans from being used in fast foods and things like that, I think that they're really missing the point, because our taxpayer dollars would still be used to subsidize the creation of these products. They would still go out and grow the corn. They would still manufacture the high fructose corn syrup. They would just export it overseas, and we, the taxpayer, would still be left on the hook to pay for the creation of agricultural products that we couldn't eat. So the real evil, the real danger, Judge, I wonder if the incoming Trump administration really understands the extent of the evil which they are facing, because just because they won the election, it doesn't mean the deep state's not going to roll over, Judge. That $800 billion, they're going to have to fight to the death.
Absolutely. The New York Post, of which I am not fond, however, ran a photograph of Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the president-elect, his son Donald Jr., and Bobby Kennedy on Trump's plane having lunch. And Musk, Trump the president, Trump the son were eating McDonald's French fries. And Bobby, of course, famously posed for the picture, showing his disdain for anything like that. So the man at the head of the federal government is the country's biggest self-proclaimed food junkie. So Bobby's got a lot of work cut out for him. I was with Trump. I was with Trump once, and he was eating some sort of a frozen taco that had been warmed up in a microwave. And I said, "Do you have any idea what's in that?" He goes, "I don't know, and I don't care. Here, eat one." I said, "No, I'm not hungry."
My favorite post about that picture that shows RFK Jr. and Trump and Elon Musk, and they're all eating McDonald's. My favorite picture is that because it shows our Robert F. Kennedy Jr. holding up the cheeseburger, looking very upset. And they said, "This is like a gang initiation where you force the new gang member to do drugs so that you know they're not a cop." Oh my gosh. Judge, I'm sorry that we didn't get to talk about the main subject of which we brought us on, but I know that you have so many guests today on your show, you're going to cover it in great detail. Please give us a sneak preview of Judging Freedom and your extensive guest list that you have on today.
We are talking about Joe Biden and his lust for war, and how even in the death throes of his administration, he has $7 billion remaining, authorized by the Congress, but unspent in Ukraine. He plans to spend it all. He will give Prime Minister Netanyahu everything he wants. Joe Biden has authorized the Ukrainians to use long-range missiles to strike inside Russia. That means Americans actually doing the striking. And just last night, he authorized the use of anti-personnel mines, which are illegal in 160 countries around the world, not Russia, Ukraine, China, Iran, or the United States. What a gaggle that is. So it does appear as though Biden, in his dotage, is trying to pass his foreign policy failures on to Donald Trump so that they will explode almost figuratively and literally on Trump's watch.
Judging Freedom is available on wherever you get your podcasts, and his weekly column at judgenap.com is required reading in Liberty circles. Thank you, Judge, for your time today, and thanks for understanding our little technical mishaps, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on Thomas Massie as Secretary of Ag. That was very exciting, and I certainly hope that happens. I will have a lot more hope for our country and the incoming administration if it does, Judge. Thank you for your time.
Thomas Massie is a great human being, as are you. Thank you, Austin. All the best.
Thank you, Judge. Good luck. And check out his episode of Judging Freedom, available wherever you get your podcast downloads. Guys, it's almost Christmas time, and it's time for you to exit through the gift shop. As the show ends, I need you to visit forlibertyshop.com. Now, a lot of you guys were asking me about Martha's Mint. It's available, but only for a very brief amount of time. If you go to forlibertyshop.com and order it today, it will be there in time for Christmas. Do what Kermode Bear did and order 5 boxes at a time. Thank you, Kermode. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you can get a box of Founding Flavors coffee, Martha's Mint, and Martha's Mint is available again for a very limited run. We also have another holiday coffee that we added that is a short time only. Again, roasted chestnut delight coffee, and of course our Department of Government Efficiency merch at forlibertyshop.com. Look at all the Christmas stuff. If you're a regular subscriber to the For Liberty Network's Wake Up America show, meaning if you donate $5, $15, $17.76 a month, any amount, you get a 20% discount code. If you are a subscriber and you don't have your discount code, send me a text at the number on the screen there, and I'll give it to you to make sure that you have it. Just let me know what your name is and where you're subscribing to me from so I can go check the records, and then I'll send you your 20% discount code. Go shopping. Go crazy. Any Liberty lover in your life would just be thrilled to get a gift from forlibertyshop.com. They're high-quality products. They're a good price compared to other products on the market of similar quality. It's a good value. Go to forlibertyshop.com, and it's 20% off if you're a monthly subscriber. So how do you get 20% off? Well, what you do is you become a monthly subscriber to the show, right? You go to Rumble and you become a monthly contributor, or you go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support, become a monthly subscriber, help support the next wave of liberty. People like Kim McCurry, LW78, Aces 718, Quest Fanning, Joni Rankin, Barney Styles, Frickety and Tyga, Brad Beckman, Nelson 65, Ahow 319, Joni Rankin, T-Mill 22, Frickety, all of our friends. It's nice to see you guys. Thank you very much for supporting the Wake Up America show. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow for Thirsty Thursday on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin P.